entrepreneurship, esports, education, and entertainment. I'm one of your hosts, Marcus Howard.
Sebastian Chosen One Burton checking in.
It's ready for me, your master geektress.
And it's Mr. Dope Work in the building, Derek W. I'm excited. Another episode here, Marcus. What do we got this week, man?
Our first female guest on the podcast. We're just chopping that up earlier. We're going to have more female guests in the future, but the one and only Miss Monica Hawkins joins us.
Yes.
She's a legend in the space.
Oh my God.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
There wasn't enough horns is the problem.
This is something I gotta tell you. All of this right here.
Welcome.
All of this.
Welcome to the Eat for Life podcast. We're so grateful.
I appreciate it. This is like, ooh, my husband said, you arrived.
That's funny.
You earning your street cred now, girl.
We're around. We really live
Yeah.
it. We really live it. And we know who's authentic. So Marcus thought you were a great guest. It didn't take all along for us to be like, yeah. Heck yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Hey, Monica, I shared a handful of things from our conversation earlier.
Yeah.
But for those who are just now meeting you for the first time, can you share a little bit about the backstory of your professional career, the things that you've done? And we'll talk about the futurism stuff, but just kind of level set for the audience, for the community.
All right. I would be remiss if I didn't start with my family. My father and my uncle served in Martin Luther King's camp. My maiden name is Poulard. That's Creole. That's from Louisiana. My parents met at Southern University. I popped out in the marriage dorms at Yale University, Divinity School, graduate school, when my dad was in grad school. Many of the Black males navigated through that territory to avoid the draft. If you could get into an Ivy League school during that time, you could be exempt. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's our history. And so many of the leaders, Fontroy, Bill Gray, Poulard means something in Washington. I hid it for a while because I was tired of being asked, whose child are you?
Mm-hmm.
I was trying, but I didn't wear it as a badge of honor, and it came back to speak to me in this season. But now in this season of Black, I reflect on the fact that I had aspirations to change the world, but I got it from that sense of activism that I got from my father. He shared a jail cell with Malcolm X. And even though they were on different sides of the same position, he swore out of respect, if he ever had a son, he would name his son Malcolm. My brother's name is Malcolm.
My brother's name is Malcolm.
Yeah.
Actually, for the same reason.
Is that right? Yeah. That was a conversation. And I'm looking at a picture of him over here with Muhammad Ali. His ashes are above my shoulder every day. My uncle is still alive. They both served on congressional committees. My journey took me to a place where I said, I want to produce the Emmys, Oscars, and Grammys, because I ain't never seen a Black person do anything like that in television. And so I was BET's first intern as a freshman. I got to flip the switch and didn't know what that was because I was just running to do something meaningful. Went to Rutgers. Regina Bell was my roommate. She met her now husband because he's from DC where I reside. John Battle was there playing ball. And I interned at 30 Rock because it was right up the road. And Rutgers had a very formidable industry standard curriculum for broadcast production. But my mind became a bit curious when I saw power. Didn't recognize it as power. I said, something else goes on outside of the control room. And I started running for that, but I didn't know what I was running for. By the time I graduated, I was working for a CBS network local station in Washington, and James Brown of CBS NFL Today became my first mentor because he saw me walking down the hall and I must have had water trails coming from behind my ears. He was still local at the time, but we bonded because he cared. And then he went to network about a year later. Fast forward, we became business partners. And every relationship he's had that's outside of broadcast and sometimes inside, I lead for him. Why? Because there were headwinds for someone who looked like him getting corporate endorsements. I had a hunch. And when I left broadcasting, well, let me back up. Broadcasting was good to me. I was an apprentice at CBS. Oprah landed, displaced a lot of local stuff. I went global. The State Department under Reagan, too, was starting a global network. I became a global citizen that way. They recruited me to help establish that global network. I didn't know what was happening to me, but I got to observe things like the Berlin Wall coming down and Tiananmen Square and Mandela getting out of prison. And I actually produced his first state visit here as president. I have a picture on our mantle with me and Bishop Desmond Tutu. I was in my 20s, early 20s. I was just working, not recognizing I had access to power. But I was smelling some air that was fortifying that activism in me. And so I wanted to understand who's making these decisions and why. And because I was always asking these questions, I didn't realize somebody was watching me, putting me in a position to get those assignments. And then I heard someone say, if you're a director in telecom, you can do this. And I'm like, director translated to me as a position in a control room. I didn't know corporate titles. But I ran after that and wound up working for telecom, ran after it and got it within 6 months. And truly divine providence, wound up managing the communication between two CEOs because of the experience I had between two massive mergers, and was put on that brand team that now created the Red V, we now know as Verizon. Because then I had another mentor, Bruce Gordon, who saw me asking compelling questions, pushing the envelope, saying that doesn't make sense, and making white boys turn pink, brown, and purple, because I understood how the world worked and they thought small. And Michelle Obama was right. They aren't that smart. But if you have the courage and graciousness and diplomacy, words I used from State Department journeying, to state a position and have it backed up with sound reasoning and data, they'll listen. In spite of the headwinds, they have to, because they want to win too. Might make them uncomfortable because it's coming from someone who doesn't look like you.
Like them.
Like them, exactly. I mean, literally, I was asked by two white women to go into a closet.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I didn't realize I could own the building after that, but yes, I was asked, excuse me, there's CEOs coming in here. You are too much. We need you to go in there. Stand in the closet.
That's crazy.
And little did they know that I had already seen both of them. So one of them saw that. And when he was passing the door, he said, "See you later, Monica," through the crack of the door. They were gone. I got promoted.
Wow.
So I think what happened to me was in that pushing and asking, and there was something an HR person told me. I was always in the margins and around corners saying, what's this over here? This is what leads to growth. This is what leads to change. This is what makes transformation real. Verizon was not going to be this wire line company. It was talking about this stuff. Now it's 5G. And they were having a hard time making that transition. And I was at the tip of the sword in the division leading the change. So that taught me something. I had to find my voice in that. I was always pushing at the tip of the sword. And my pastor actually told me, "You're an entrepreneur." I didn't know what that was. And quite frankly, it pissed me off because it meant I had to step out and be vulnerable. I wound up after the second merger in the lobbying office representing Verizon at a think tank. This little fledgling cottage industry called diversity was starting, and they needed someone to sit there and talk about. I said, wait a minute, that's not diversity. That's that activism stuff my dad did. Y'all just dressed up the work, you know. And the boss of that think tank said, I need you to come work for me. You understand how CEOs and leaders think. You can help us frame that. I went. Within maybe a year, I had a portfolio of 60 corporations. I was encouraged to leave by the clients I was serving. They said they'd rather pay me than pay the organization. I don't believe in stealing people's business. I was doing that. It was painful because I was used to big stages and big rooms, and this was a think tank. It was smaller, but we had access to influence. And my first client 17 years ago was a rags to riches white man. He went from sleeping in the back of his car to having his own hangar with his own jet at Dallas Airport. And he had a special assignment, and my whole world opened up. I said, what, is this a parallel universe? He just needed something done because his son was going into the Marines and he wanted his son protected. This is Gulf War II. And we got on the jet and he went to see the commandant. What can we do to be helpful? Oh, a concert would be helpful because all the wounded are coming back from the war and landing at Camp Pendleton. Could you do a concert maybe on the beach? And he said, oh, I'll call my friend Quincy, as in Jones.
Wow.
And I said, what are we going to do with all this? I don't have a network. But all of my experience came screaming back to me. And Quincy went and did a poll of all of the wounded and said, who are your favorite artists? This was when Destiny's Child was getting ready to launch their farewell tour, and Kiss was, I was like, what? You know, Darius Rucker and Hootie and the Blowfish and Chris Tucker and Cedric. I mean, everybody came. Mary J. Blige. That was my first assignment as an entrepreneur.
Queen of hip hop soul. I'm gonna put that out there.
Okay. And they all said yes, because it was our troops. But he had no eyeballs. So I called from a State Department connection, the Armed Forces Network, and they said, you got what? We got you. They put it live around the world. And Entertainment Tonight was the backstage exclusive. And the PR book is about this thick because we just said thank you to the troops. And the money that we I said, Camp Pendleton, just give me your top vendors. They paying. They made money off of you. Now they go pay for this. So, and I learned that from listening to CEOs and watching this rags to riches white man stay authentic. And not being afraid to say, I don't know what to do with this. Because I got surrounded by people who were so different from me, who I'd never seen before, who walked in circles I didn't even know existed. So I hope that's enough of the story to give you a little bit of color.
It is. Thanks for sharing that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Keisha Howard. She actually made the introduction for the two of us. So shout out to Keisha. She's going to be a future guest on the podcast.
Shout out to Keisha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my girl. She's my mentor.
Yeah, doing her thing up in Chicago.
Yeah, it's one of my close friends for a long time. So Keisha and I kind of like she started a little before me in the industry. So yeah, big shouts out to Keisha for sure. Big shout.
She's quality, and she's a quiet riot.
Yep. Keisha make sure she's in dabbling everything. The one thing like from your story, because like it's just I love how it has so much like levels to how you actually started. And a lot of influence too. But one of the things you said, besides of course your rich family tree, like that's amazing already. Like, but just being vulnerable, like taking that step. That's some of the things you said. You was like, I got to be an entrepreneur. Wait a minute, I mean, I got to be out on my own. I got to be my own machine, you know. But for you to take that risk with someone who didn't have the glitz and glamour, because a lot of people who want to start off and collab with people or want to start their business out, a lot of times they look for, like in our day and age now, we look for numbers, somebody that has these high numbers on something, or someone who looks like they're so-called put together, instead of being a part of someone's building process. And you actually took that risk to be a part of someone's success. Like how, like even after that, when you recognize like, wow, this can work because I did this with someone that didn't have nothing and made it into something, what led you to be like, okay, I figured it out now and I can move on to the next project?
I don't know if I happened to it or it happened to me. Because I really didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know I had to set up an LLC. I didn't know I had to watch the tax rules around that LLC, and because they started throwing a lot of money at me because I was doing good work. I had people telling me what I could ask for, but I didn't know how to manage it. And so I was used to being in rooms where people had not just titles and position, but they had influence and power.
It's different.
I was used to that.
It's different.
But they just didn't look like me. But, I remember Bill Gray was someone from Louisiana as well, who at one point in his life took his father to the Willard Hotel here in DC and was told he couldn't sit there as a Black man. And became a preacher, like many of them did, again, Divinity School, Yale. Came back to DC and was chair of the House Budget Committee. Ran for Congress. He was a preacher in Philly, ran for Congress, won, and rose to be chair of the House Budget Committee. When I was State Department, I heard a whole conversation, Bill Gray. I said, excuse me, I had to insert myself. Might you be talking about Bill Gray from Philadelphia? And I almost said, oh, Uncle Bill. No, I said, this is a power moment. Stay sick. Keep it together, girl. Keep it. And those are the moments where I'm like, my knees are shaking, but I'm going to go in here. And even in entrepreneurship, I had those moments. My knees are shaking. The pandemic pivot, my knees are shaking. And when he showed up, he looked at me and went, you have no idea what you've just done. You know, because there were a bunch of suits waiting. I bought a new suit for the day when he showed up for the meeting. And I had no idea that the gentleman who was waiting to see him was Ronald Reagan's best friend. I didn't know. And he knew, he could tell just by looking in my eyes, I didn't know. And all he said was, take care of her, you get your budget. Now he's saying that to someone at the State Department. I just got put in a game. I said, now I don't know what just happened here, but I'm gonna learn about it. And when I get an opportunity, when I get
don't question it. No.
Next thing I know, I'm getting invited up to his office, meeting his personal secretary, getting on plum assignment, all of this.
That's incredible.
But
do you consider that a inclusion opportunity?
That word wasn't being used then. No, it was a power play. And this cottage industry of diversity has dressed up what it takes to provide access and change behaviors. That move, take care of her, you get yours. That's what they do for themselves all day long. Mm-hmm. Take care of her, you get yours. Just like in the movie Hidden Figures. We'd like to give you this promotion because we know you understand the IBM. That's nice, but I ain't going without my girls.
And we don't see that a lot. You see the, oh yeah, and well, see you next time. And it's like there's no sisterhood. I think that's another thing to a company is like sister, and especially it's like we both know Keisha, and which is a great segue that I wanted to ask is like what led you into the industry of technology and VR and gaming? aside from your other works in different industries and being managerial in those and getting big players together? What made you want to set your foot in this industry?
Something tripped a wire in me. I'm very curious. Okay. I think working in television, let alone live television and global live television. By the way, because I was working global State Department, I worked local, domestic. That meant nothing I did in the world could be seen here in the US. I would hire myself out as a freelancer for sports. So I was sitting courtside NBA and the booth, NFL, track and field, anything I could do. And so I did Goodwill Games, Olympics stuff, just to keep myself in the game some kind of way in broadcasting to understand what was happening.
And what I like there is a gem too, like for people is like you should find things that you could do. Like that's your way to give back when you're doing like the Goodwill events and even things like that. Like that's how you can.
Absolutely, absolutely, and
wired, you can give right back.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how ubiquitous the NFL is as a sport. You are 2 degrees away from any company, C-suite officer, when you're around those 31 billionaires plus Green Bay. And they are now a longtime client. And the NBA, Mark Tatum, deputy commissioner, is a dear friend. I say that out of honor and respect for their leadership. Troy Vincent, Black man, talks openly about coming from New Jersey, crack neighborhood, good people. And they were saying, Monica, look around corners, see what's going on, mostly Troy. And I tripped up on esports because of NBA 2K. I didn't know what that was. I was at NBA All-Star Weekend, and I heard about all this. I said, well, what? Oh, wait a minute. Because corporate was going through this thing we now know as digital transformation. I'm a management consultant. The skills I had in broadcasting translated into and serving global leaders translated into C-suite consulting from a management consulting point of view. So when a leader says, I don't know what to do, they're not going to say that publicly. So they have to earn a lot of trust quickly. And because digital transformation nobody wanted to get Kodak to Ubered. Okay. So they were grappling with how do I change my culture from broadcaster to Netflix quickly? Because Amazon's coming for us and FinTech's coming for us. So that was conversation in corporate. And then I was hearing this thing in sports, esports. What? And they weren't really running after it. They would just kind of had it in a lab somewhere. Now, 10 years ago, I want you to hear this. 10 years ago, Major League Baseball had something called the Pit. Did y'all ever hear about this?
I never heard of it.
It's what created Major League MLB.com. It was young people basically in a combination of moonshot, game jam, and hackathon. 10 years ago. They didn't look like this platform right here.
Yeah.
But they were just dreaming up stuff.
But they had got the younger generation to help move forward with something.
Exactly. So I started saying, wait. So this esport thing is going to be that for digital transformation for sport. Well, wait a minute, where the Black people? That's what got me, because I said, I know we're around here somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just started,
We around.
Yeah. I said, I know but corporate has this way, like you said, of looking for who's got the numbers and who can translate their lexicon into their speak before they pull you in. Right. Not that they have to do it. Right.
And don't know who like just like how that person knew Quincy Jones, so like you never know who knows someone. It's just that they don't have a machine yet, but they have so many great connections and relationships, and you don't know how that can translate for your business as well. But you got to have the conversation.
Right. That's right. So it was humbling, because I was like, Asia, I just come back. I ain't like it. But that was where the power was coming from, and the money flow was coming from over here. And I thought, now this is interesting. Somebody's getting ready to make another power move. but where are the Black people? Because, and then I started connecting some dots to myself. I said, self, this is just like Desh and Emery and Fast and Furious. I know that Black people somewhere who can do all this stuff, right? And that's how I tripped up on it, because if I want to scale it, there were things like MIT, Georgia Tech, Stanford, they all had these hubs where this stuff was getting churned up, but it was systemic that we didn't have it in historically Black, right? But if we could and be honest with ourselves, it would be game on. Because I've seen them. Think about Dr. Dre's story, Beats Audio.
Mm-hmm.
Dre wasn't in the business of making headsets, but
no,
he was brilliant. So that's what happened. I ran it. I kind of put together digital transformations happening, but this gaming thing contains all the skill sets of what tech needs to create and be boundaryless and innovate and think of what's possible that's not in the room yet. And I know that's what we do. That's what we drive in our culture every day.
Especially today. Especially today right now.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I think it was 12 years ago. I interviewed, y'all know the name Lloyd Trotter? Lloyd is from Ohio, and he had a skill, someone, small town in Ohio, had a skill to hear what machines sounded like in manufacturing plants. So GE hired him. Wow. And they didn't realize how brilliant he really was until they gave him his first entry-level job. And they said, okay, now we know we were right. We're going to promote you. But the job was 60 miles down the road. He didn't want to go. I said, Lloyd, why not? Because I didn't know the streets.
That's what I'm talking
okay. Fast forward, Lloyd wound up being vice chair of GE.
Wow. Because
he took that first 60-mile walk where he didn't know the streets. So every time we have this first to do, first up, if someone else doesn't recognize, I don't really know what he's saying, but I hear something. And I think that's what Black gamers have done to themselves. Equally so, Silicon Valley's done it, Wall Street's done it. Everybody talks to themselves. And pretty soon they start answering themselves back. You know?
Exactly. That right there. Like, and that speaks so many volumes, because to me, that's the problem and issue. Like we have like this running theme that we always talk about here. That is the issue right now with esports and HBCUs. I'm sorry. Like,
I'm sorry.
It's just like how you mentioned, of course, like MIT, Georgia Tech, like these different tech prestigious like programs have these specific hubs and know how to branch off and make sure their students are valuable to other corporations or valuable for them to start their own things. It's like there's a branch off of something. It's not this wall, and it's like we just keep talking to the same wall over and over again. But it's like, y'all don't know the definition of technology. Like, it's like, and y'all don't like, and nor are y'all knowing the definition of science, of studying something and trying to come up with an answer. But yeah, that's the thing too. Like, it's like we're talking to ourselves over and over again, but there's other demographics within one demographic. Like even Black gamers, there's several demographics even within Black gamers alone. It's not that I'm just going to speak to sports. Like, I'm just going to have the sports gamers over here. And we're just going to keep speaking to y'all over and over again, because HBCUs, this is what it's like, you're doing the same thing that we just said. We don't need another LeBron. We don't need another, but you do it again with the digital version of sports. Like, but there's other games that can be esports and can put them in the forefront that'll make them different. Just saying.
We're running.
I spoke last week about esports I spoke last week about esports and libraries, and that's one of the things that I talked about with Chad Marion over at St. Pete College is that when I went to Georgia Southern, all of the students looked down on the locals if the locals stepped foot on campus. So even if you have a library on a campus that is subsidized by tax, state funding, your tax dollars, you still don't have the local community like integrated within the ecosystem because they don't feel comfortable on campus. And that's one of the benefits of having libraries is you still have the same access to technology, the internet, the computers, but now the entire community can use the facility.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems I think we see with HBCUs is that, Sebastian mentioned it earlier too, like they only want to involve like the students, the educated Black people in esports when there's a lot more Black people than people who just go to HBCUs.
What does that mean? Somebody help me understand what that means. They only want to involve the educated. What does that mean?
Well,
Yeah.
it's more like a line drawn in society, right? Like educated is in if you're a student at the university, then this is the offer.
Like the boulets.
Yeah.
it's like
Because,
it's pretty. It's like
yeah, because it's like, think about it. Like we already see that happen with traditional sports, like Reg is saying so eloquently. Like we see that often. I know my mic was low, y'all, so let me know if it's back up loud.
it's good.
Yeah, like you already see that separation in so many other traditional sports. And gaming, that was always the great equalizer since I've been young. I started playing at 15, started spending my money and going and doing it professionally way back. So like that was always it. In the heart of it was like it didn't matter who came in the room. I'm nice. So now you're trying to add like they need a degree for the new kids coming up. That's not right in itself. That doesn't even make any sense for what the future of the whole experience. Esports is just the name that's going by right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the NBA was.
Imagine getting the community involved in that. Like, let's say, for example, Howard University or whatever, or Johnson C. Smith.
Okay.
If you could get the whole shot, like, okay, I'll say Johnson C. Smith because that was down the street from my university.
Okay.
Let's say I want to get that whole Mecklenburg County. I want the whole Mecklenburg County to be involved with Johnson C. Smith Esports, program. So that means you would get kids from the grade schools to middle school to high school involved, or you'll get the parents. Like it's being a community thing. It's not just set for who paid tuition, but the future. Like you want to. Why would you not want the future to be like, yo, when I grow up, I want to go to John C. Smith. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yo, yeah, they helped my grandmother understand this because like just getting the whole community involved instead of it just hitting one thing. Like, yeah, this is just secluded just for the students. This is just for the people who paid tuition, not the overall community involvement.
I can see that.
Right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Not to mention
excuse me, go ahead.
Like if we recognize that esports and video games are a bridge to technology interests.
That's right. Yes.
And we know that technology interests is a bridge to economic empowerment.
Yes.
Right? So that people can work and have jobs and somewhere they're proud of and live somewhere that's safe.
Yeah.
Then isolating esports down to HBCUs is saying only those individuals that already have the path and the mindset to go off to this next level is who we're going to target and have interest into esports, as if the person that isn't on that path to go to college doesn't need that same type of empowerment or bridge to a better life.
That makes I get it now. Okay.
So on one hand, it's like, yes, we're happy and that HBCU has gotten on point with it. But on the other hand, it's a little bit disheartening that the rest of the industry thinks that doing HBCU is enough Black engagement that checks the block when it's not. You have so many different genres of Black within Black. It's not just collegiate Black.
That is so true. That is so can I use this phrase? Can I unpack that for a second?
Okay.
It's a management consulting kind of thing. There were years where I was asked to bridge the academy, which is what institutions call themselves, and the industry together to accelerate an issue. And I only did that, it wasn't because I had an aversion. It was just because of where the opportunity was with PWIs, primarily white institutions. So Cornell University, Georgetown, and I'm now nested at Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins has not one, not two, three innovation hubs.
Okay.
One of them, DOD and Tesla are side by side. Now, when the definition industry standard of an innovation hub at that altitude has 5 pillars: the academy, industry, entrepreneurship, government, local and global, and funders. So this kind of throwing around the word innovation and hub, I don't get, okay? Because that's the discipline I see at those other institutions. Now, what I saw was, I said, well, how come none of this isn't historically Black? Because if you put that apparatus on a Black campus, you make that campus a market maker.
It's going to automatically do it.
And they already have, because of way they play, a gamification mindset. But I, again, ran into this thing, HBCU esports. Now, for me, I didn't understand 2 things. How can anybody just holler HBCU? Remember, I work with the Shield. Who has the right to say you pay a lot of money to license NBA or NFL? So I didn't understand. Okay. So I had to build a whole new, this is a pivot for me going into the pandemic. Risky. A, I've never done it before. B, I know nothing about what y'all know. Okay. But I knew that the apparatus was working over here for them. And I knew we were smart enough if we got access to it, because it's hard to be the best in the world at anything. But when the field is level, we can excel. Ask MJ. Okay. Ask Ursula Burns, who became the CEO of Xerox. So here comes Ken Chenault and Ken Frazier. Do you know those 2 names?
No.
Ken Chenault is the recently retired CEO of American Express, a Black man. Ken Frazier, recently retired CEO of Merck Pharmaceuticals, a Black man. And they decided, we're going to make sure 1 million Black people get jobs in 10 years. And guess what? They won't have to have a college degree. All they have to do is to exhibit what Derek said, have the skill.
Yeah.
Now that'll upset somebody's day.
Yo.
And historically Black. Okay. When you got those 2 proven excellent leaders saying, oh, and they went and got 37 other CEOs to create this thing called 110, 1 million in 10 years. Have you heard the name Robert Smith?
Yes, for sure.
Robert Smith is with him.
Yeah, I've seen,
Okay. He's kind of called it this equity initiative. Okay. A balancing act on the same thing, but he's more entrepreneurial. They're corporate. They got 37 CEOs and counting. Wow. So we got so swarmed by adults at the academy, administration. I'm like, where are the students? I would like to hear what they have to say about that. High school AP students who traverse these campuses. I know they're here. ROTC, marching band, they all have skills. You're a market maker. You sit in the middle of Nashville. You sit in the middle of Charlotte. You can be the epicenter of digital transformation. You can be Wakanda-like right here. But what I got some counseling on was they weren't framed for that. They were framed on land tracks.
They're old systems,
traditional systems. And now here comes the pandemic and everybody's upside down.
They're like, oh, I gotta do this. Let's jump in a Zoom call. What?
Where's the esports at?
Where's
Everybody's
the esports?
Upside down. Everybody's
I need a tournament.
Down.
What? You need a tournament? Wait a minute. Pump your brakes. Let's figure out how is this supposed to work with everything. But yeah, that's like the running theme. But But if you think of an institution to have those successful things, like what you said, those different pillars, those 5 pillars and what's needed.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of HBCUs now, they have some of those pillars, but they've been canceling those things. And I'm like, how are you going to cancel that stuff when you need that as the building bridge and the foundation for your new tech stuff that you want to do in the future? That's what I didn't understand. And like we all have said, we know the bubble is about to burst because the foundation is not being met. The people that's involved are not trying to really learn. They just know that they had their previous titles and that's going to work in this industry with that. And I was like, it doesn't work that way at all.
Yeah. This industry is built by the players. Since you figure the video game industry is like the publishers, right? Like it used to be the old way was like, the game comes out for Nintendo and then everybody buys it. And then, hey, there's a bunch of people who get together and play it, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, as far as business goes, it's done from the shelf life starts. Once it hits the store, we're done with it. We're moving to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what created this industry is multiplayer. And the multiplayer of it is what we call esports, professional gaming when I was coming up. But now, understanding that, the power is in the players. And that goes right back to what Red was saying. Like, the power is in the players. You're not going to be able to bring these corporate, like, tactics. It's going to be tougher from these other things where it is more corporately structured through a hierarchy. This is like, as you can see, right now, it's better to be a streamer than a player. In 2021, it's than to be professional and nice at a game. Like,
why?
Not as profitable as being the funniest,
more relatable,
popular on Twitch, and more relatable. It's not close. The money's not close. If you need an example, name one professional gamer that could set up a fight with Floyd Mayweather. That could do anything like that. And it's not. It's because
look at what's happening now. It's crazy. Yeah, look at the Floyd Mayweather with Logan Paul.
Right, like he's a YouTuber. He's a YouTuber, and like he got to the old media's prime gem, Showtime pay-per-view, a YouTuber. Showtime. They're not doing it through smaller companies.
A boxer who's fought for 10 years still haven't got the opportunity to fight against Floyd, but someone who's an influencer or YouTube was able to make that happen.
Hello? That's where esports falls under that kind of behavior. So until people understand that this is power to the players, you're not going to be able to NCAA this thing. Colleges or HBCUs. But on the flip side of that, I wanted to say something to tag along to what you and Derek were saying, Monica, is that like colleges should use it. I mean, who wants to go to a college fair anymore? People don't want to get together because of the virus. Nobody wants to go to the college fair anymore. But why wouldn't you have a speaking session attached to like a tournament that could be held online, and then there's a Zoom after with 30 kids talking, and maybe you then get them interested to recruit to your college for the experience that this tournament gave them. It's an extension. It can be an extension. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like you can only play with us, as Red said, if you're under our tutelage. Like, then that just makes another box that we just have seen how much the NCAA has kind of jerked kids for years. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we going to do that again with what we know was created by the players? Like, I'm telling you, we brought them TVs for DOA. We brought them TVs for Soul Calibur. I brought them. My back hurts now. We brought them. So, like,
but you know what? They're looking for you. They're looking for what you said.
Oh.
How do you build it?
Oh, how do we build it?
You can find us here every Sunday at 8 p.m.
That's right.
No, but wait a minute. Oh, no. It ain't that easy. Because y'all are too smart for that. You're too smart for that. I hear NFL athletes say the same thing. Then they went into the lockout. Guess who we had to go get to help him say, okay, leverage your power then, Kevin Lyles. Because he knew both sides. He knew Def Jam and he knew Warner Brothers.
Oh, I got Def Jam all right.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Okay.
All right.
And I remember Kevin told this story. He said, Yo, M, he won't never call me by my whole name. Yo, M.
Kevin Lyles is cool.
I went to Walgreens and they marched out all their black people. like the top 5 Black people. And I was like, oh, this is cute. You know, the white man gonna tell me he got top Black people. So he said, I said, I want you to meet me this weekend. I'm gonna bring you my top 5 white people. Sting, Bruce Springsteen. So the question, and he was like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, it's like, he said, see me, I raise you. Okay. Now let's dispense with all this and talk about some business. So I feel like this is that kind of moment.
All right.
It's about the players. Last time I checked, Kevin's player. Mm-hmm. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
What can you walk into Penn State and say? Gen G sure is saying it. They don't know what you know. They gotta come all the way across the water and try and say it.
It's true. It's true.
Then all that stuff got shut down. But you know the culture, you know, look, there are chicks in China trying to look like Beyonce, okay? So you know,
it's the truth.
You know what drives scalability and growth.
Right.
It's just that you don't say those 2 words, scalability. You say something else, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's their lexicon. You have another one. I, you know, Marcus asked me, send me 3 words. I'm like, how do I say who I am? I'm not a connector. I'm a transformer. I love the Transformers, by the way. But I am. I'm a transformer. Those 2 power sources that come, I try to regulate the power so that the circuit still flows. But you got to get on the grid. And somehow, I think, just like CEOs don't have enough social capital to come find you, you all need more social capital to come find them.
Yeah, that's
agreed.
And I'm willing to help. That's what I believe we're creating, is the opportunity for not just the enrolled Black student.
exactly.
That would not be sufficient or smart.
Yeah.
But
And not just a scholarly one too. Like I can't stand like people get that twisted, like, oh, the scholarly kids and we want them to excel. They already excel. They're gonna make sure they're gonna keep excelling. The kids who have that little problem, you know, or whatever, maybe listen, school just not for them. Their brains work on a totally different level. Just like what Gary Vee said. Like Gary Vee was like, listen, school wasn't for me. I wasn't jacking it. It was whack, but I know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? That person that keeps talking in class, guess what? They have the gift of gab. They know how to, they have the confidence and can speak to anybody. So utilize that child. You know what I'm saying? Like kids have, sometimes they just need an outlet. And a lot of times it's not the traditional way of learning. You know, things are progressing so much that the traditional way of learning in school is boring as hell to these kids. Mm-hmm. They want to touch and trial and error. Like they want to actually have that, but it's not being provided. So people just, you know, check them off as being delinquents. And no, they just need another outlet to figure out those kids at Scarly, they're going to roll with the books and they're not going to be so much out of the box. But if you get kids that are different from them, they're already out of the box.
So I got a question. If there was a room you could walk in, and each of you might have a different answer, but if there was a room you could walk in today and have a conversation with a particular leader to make your case, what room would it be and with whom?
It's a really good question.
So my room would be with P from QC, Quality Control Music. And because he has a nice roster of artists, and I definitely see the bridge between music gaming from an engagement standpoint, especially from a streaming. But a lot of times they're not doing it correctly, or they're not using that. Artists aren't using the gaming world as an avenue or channel to spread their brand and music. And if they are, they don't have someone that's focused on it and actually can have a plan and a strategy around it. So
beyond Bruno and Travis.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And I think that talking to them, because of the artists that he has, then automatically penetrates that demographic and audience that isn't paying attention to technology per se, but seeing their favorite rapper or whoever interested or be that bridge that introduced them to that is another way for us to get to them. Because I'm a firm believer that we like I know hood dudes that want to be street cats, they want to sell dope or they want to scam. And what they see behind that is the marketing that makes that lifestyle worthy. Yeah, as a technology person, I can feed my family. My wife can stay somewhere where we can accidentally leave the door unlocked and it's okay. It's not a serious thing.
Right.
But there's no marketing that goes along with that to tell that story to the younger demographic to say, oh, I want to do that. And so therefore, the tech people like me, the Marcuses, Sebastians of the world, we're not as cool because we don't have the marketing. We're not coming with the flashy things, but we're trying to convince the same audience that doesn't have opportunity to want to get into the thing that we're doing because we're doing it the right way, the legal way, a respectable way. But where's the marketing behind pushing us so that we can compete with the rapper? I can't compete with a rapper just being a regular dude. Like, and so therefore,
that notoriety is off
audience.
the
I feel like infiltrating the QCs of the world can be that bridge that we need to further do what we
Okay, wait a minute. I'm old school. I'm not gonna put this in my phone. I'm gonna write it down. Who's
She's got you.
QC? Who's QC?
I still do that.
Quality control music. That's
What artists do they have? Top 3.
oh, Migos.
Oh, okay. Them I know. So Offset's kind of running around Atlanta trying to do, I don't know what he's trying to do.
I know he's a gamer.
Yeah.
Hey, Offset could use some help. I can see.
Yeah,
that.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. So quality control. I love challenges. Have I exhibited that? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. You can't.
Connected to the transformer. She's bringing everything together, regulating both sides.
There was a challenge around the corner, and I said, "Yo, don't come in here."
What room would you want to be in, Sebastian?
That's a good question. I've been pondering on it. I think there's just more than one because I'm learning through reading a lot of different books. Like a lot of people's perspectives could really help. You know what I'm saying? Give you some insights, but kind of somebody who came up on the list that I think is important based on what you said, Derek. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of changed my thoughts. Is like I really like, just to relate, is Gucci. Like I don't even listen to Gucci Mane, but like I just really think like people rarely turn their second chance around so much that people thought he was a clone. Like people thought he was a clone. Like people, like it got like to be a large amount of websites and outlets being like, well, now we're searching into asking the prison about his numbers and his papers and things like that. It got that big because he decided to work out, not live the life he was living, and change. And I just thought that was incredible because those are stories about, black folks you don't see all the time. Like, and at a scale he did it, and knowing as a musician, knowing how he did it coming out of Atlanta, like the most raw, just out the mixtape trunk way of just, blowing up. And then to take this to another level, I think we all work on our duality as humans, and like the things you struggle with and the things you are. And I just think like, who are you to like be a guy out of Atlanta? 2 people try to come kill you, you kill them, and then like 10, 15 years later, you're on stage like rapping with that guy, making $1 million. You know what I mean? Like with Apple on the Versus thing, like him and Jeezy like really had that happen. Like that was a real thing. And then like not only is he like fit, holding his wife down, they're happy. Now he's across the stage with a dude who sent 2 dudes to try to kill him. So like that's just the growth that like I felt is so inspiring. So I would love to sit with him and just be like, yo, help me out. I'm trying to help your boy out. How did you grow like that, buddy? Because that's real dope. Like, you don't see a lot of that. I always used to, it's like more of a like conscious vibe for me always in my life. So I always appreciated Gucci's like work amount and ethic, but I never really, to this day, I'm not a big Gucci fan listener, but I can respect any brother's story who like I mean, what? You talking about the turnaround of the century? Someone's gonna have a hard time following that act up. I thought Gucci was mentally challenged at a certain time. And now,
Well,
like,
you
that
know,
might be crazy.
it's funny you say that. Let's say you had the conversation. What would you do with the information you got?
Yeah, I would definitely apply some of those tips to what I feel like. Like, I would just ask like questions like, what do you do in moments that you feel unsure? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have my own answers to that. I definitely feel confident in that. But I would love to see from what I saw in that journey, I just feel like that was a large jump in a short amount of time. It's more of a conversation of time. I recognize that
I understand.
for those shortcomings, I'm going to get there, but I'm trying to, as Marcus would say, growth hack it. So I think Gucci went from
Eventually, I'm
2011
gonna know. I'm gonna want to know when you figure it out to do what.
Oh, to do when I figured
What,
out
like,
what do I
yeah,
do?
yeah, what you would do with it. Like, what would be the step 2?
Mhm.
Like, with that information you grab, or what you will actually want to do with him in order to kind of merge, you know, Jeezy with you and what you're doing.
Oh,
What room would you want to be in, Red?
yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It might be like a whole building,
That's
but
what I was saying. That's what I was saying. That's a great question. Yeah.
it's a phenomenal question. I have 3. They all are Black women. One is Kimberly with Black Girls Code. I'm gonna just name the 3. The second is Alayli May. She's a designer. She's like the second Black woman to actually have a shoe, various different, several shoes with Jordan Brand and how, and also partnered with Louis Vuitton. And then third is Rihanna. So I'll speak on Rihanna first. Rihanna has really solidified herself from not just depending on the music industry. And a lot of times, depending on industries that we're in, sometimes we'll feel like it's a comfort zone and just depend on that one industry instead of merging both or merging our influences. So I definitely would love to like speak to her on how, like, what gave her the gumption to want to get into the fashion industry, to ride her wave. I think a lot of artists are just people, influencers, public figures don't ride their wave successfully until that wave just kind of skids out and then you just washed out at this point. But I would love to really take the gaming industry and Black women in gaming and do like a collab with her and her whole beauty line. A lot of us women in gaming, we use makeup. You know, we have to go in front of the camera. We love to put our personalities with that. So I would love to like speak to her on how to do something like that, or to help other brands. There's actually a Black woman, she owns it. It's called Glamour Cosmetics, and she put gaming, you know, involved with her own cosmetics line. So even like we all just collaborating together, since it's already made, why not just try and fuse everything and make it bigger? Well, Alayli May, I'm a huge sneakerhead, so I love sneakers. There's a lot of gamers that are into sneaker culture and streetwear culture. I love streetwear as well. So I see a lot of players and influencers and public figures that don't have any brand deals with fashion, yet they have to put on clothes. You got to put on clothes. Like, so, but I don't see there's no brand deals like that. We see the same deals over and over again, energy sports drink, some type of gaming glasses, headphone peripherals. We don't see anything branding wise. A lot of times we'll see that through organizations like 100 Thieves and other esports teams. They'll make their own meta threads like what I have on right now. But there's nothing from outside that's actually partnering up with gamers in a certain way that, okay, a sneaker deal or whatever type of deal, hoodies, clothing in general. So I would love to be in that room to see how I can be someone that, okay, I am a gamer, you know, I'm in tech, I'm in STEAM and STEM, but I'm also a sneakerhead. just merging that together as one and intersecting gaming with other industries. And then Kimberly with Black Girls Code, the whole initiative of just getting Black young girls, Black and brown girls in the gaming industry, to not just for them to be players and entertainers, but the ones behind making these games, the ones behind, problem solving. Just like how you mentioned Hidden Figures. There's tons of little girls that are still into science. The cutoff a lot of times is 11 years old, where they're not gamers anymore because they're told that's for boys. So, just working along with young girls to pursue these different scientific roles in the industry so they can be represented. And then we don't have to have the conversations of why all the time.
So, Marcus, I'm not going to forget you. I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
You good?
I had 3 people, my bad, but
No problem. No problem. What I've had a hard time following is where the Black gamers, where do they live, who counts them, other than through data on Xbox and PlayStation. How do you feel there's a respect and an honor of the community? Where's the home to respect them?
we don't we don't have a hub of that.
This is the thing. I think that's a great question, but again, I want to challenge you to look at this abstract from like previous industries, because one thing I noticed is you ask incredible questions. Like, it's so dope. I'm like, damn. Like as somebody who like does interviews, things like that, I'm like, man, I need to have that on point. Those are direct and really close-ended, so you just have to give an answer. But when you do that from the perspective of all the experience, this is like this new frontier I'm trying to paint for you is like,
yeah,
it's not even segmented, as Rez said. Like, we just talked to a dude last week that's playing Knockout City, and he don't play no fighting games. And the fighting game community is 90% Black. So he doesn't play no fighting games. This guy we talked to last week.
So wait a minute, hold up. The fighting community is 90% Black?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Where'd that data come from?
For sure.
What we see every time.
Yeah, what we see. We've been doing it for 15 years. Yeah,
like us going to the tournaments,
to the
the top
tournaments,
players are Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the top 8 players are Black and Asian, but the majority of the culture and the tournaments and even some of these tournament owners are Black.
Yeah. And so,
yep.
As you would guess, you're finding this new piece of information, right? Well, as you would guess, the smallest of the prize pools, the smallest of the viewership, and the smallest of the sponsorship opportunity is in this fighting game community. It is also the only one where all the games are grouped up into one room, essentially. Like, you would never go to a Call of Duty tournament and see some people playing Overwatch.
And see Battlefield.
You would never see some people playing Battlefield. Call of Duty is big enough that it has its own ecosystem around it that supports it. The fighting game community are some of these tournament organizers, and they're grassroots. Like, they set up shop and people come pay for entry, as opposed to the more traditional, what we call tier 1 esports. But as far as console gamers go and fighting gamers go, lots of Black folks, minorities, Asian folks in that community. And yeah, I mean, it's just the smallest look at it. So I would say, like, to answer your question more specifically, like, this new frontier is not just about like segmenting by race. We just had a dude who's nice at Knockout City, and he doesn't even play no fighting games. I rarely meet.
Okay, so let me tell you what's happening.
Mortal Kombat, or
Yeah. Okay, so this is what happens, right?
Like, there's no Black enterprise for like the Black
That's
gaming
what I'm saying. Yeah,
circle. Yeah. That's what she's saying. Like,
that's why you have all this noise in the space, right? Because people are trying to present themselves as that, so that brands understand it. But they ain't know they are there because they haven't come found you and gotten this. So I'm clear now.
Right.
The challenge, the opportunity is to bring that forward, because what is happening Madison Avenue doesn't even understand this. But because of the pandemic and how these platforms got spiked, you know, they didn't know what Epic Games was and they didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
But they heard the white mommies talking about it and Roblox
yeah.
and, you know, and what Roblox community, they don't know any of that, but they just see the numbers.
Right.
They don't know what they're talking about. They just see the numbers. And so it's being branded as white mommies and their children riding in the back seat. Okay. And they're getting Robux instead of money for their birthday because this is the way to go versus where it really came from. And Epic Games just got $1 billion to, you know, build metaverse. Okay. However, we disappear in that world all the time. So it's just really interesting how Madison Avenue, because of its insatiable appetite, I had a CMO tell me this. Chief marketing officers are not smart. They are not visionaries. They just have to convert the stakeholder value.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Okay. So what I'm after is the algorithm that you all just said. So Marcus, you and your Bitcoin's blockchain self, you know, what room would you want to be in? Because I think there's an algorithm here because you all just named massive reach, but they too don't understand. They're just investing in a little gaming thing here because they hear it, but they don't know.
Yeah, it's a one-off.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple things and I'll be brief. While I do this, if anybody's listening on the chat, if you want to post a question for Miss Monica before we close out here.
See, I'm not gaming, so they probably don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's more about business. You know, your executive strategic insights.
Aziza Brown is a legendary FGC team coach. So she coaches for those tournaments.
She owns her own team.
She owns the team. What am I saying? She
owns her own team. Aziza Brown. That's my sis. Aziza Brown.
Yeah,
she owns Dynamic Focus. She has some of the top players in the fighting game community. So yeah, Aziza Brown, we definitely got to connect you with her.
Yeah, she's here and she's watching and she's been engaged the whole time.
Hi, Aziza.
So therefore, she does know what you're talking about because she's contributed great points along the way. So
Monica, I just posted this link in the comments into the chat on LinkedIn. So Nielsen actually has been tracking the Black spending power for 10 years. And,
yes, they have.
Shout out to Hip Hop for sharing this link a couple weeks ago in his video podcast, VOD, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I'm old. So what he said and what was shared in there is that the Black community is one of the largest consumers. It's actually the largest consumer of gaming and media and consumer media content. So if anybody who can help point us in the right direction from a strategic data insights perspective, I would imagine Nielsen can, because they're already tracking this information because they can aggregate it for us.
I talked to him.
Okay, well, we know where to go then.
I talked to the girl. Yeah, but that's a nice, keep going.
If I had to be in one room, it would be with two different groups. One would be the Department of Education, because I think that Common Core and No Child Left Behind was a failure. I think that it's ludicrous to think that someone can dedicate 4 years and $50,000-$60,000 to get a 4-year degree when, especially in blockchain, crypto, and gaming and esports, that content is outdated by the time you finish your program.
Yep.
And then, so that needs to be reset across the board. The second piece is the Small Business Administration. If you look at countries like Canada and several places over in Europe and around the world, the small business division of those countries actually has a financial incentive, grants for game development, right? Just like what Georgia has, where they provide the same tax incentives for gaming studios as they do for film companies. And it's no surprise, no coincidence that these countries have just booming gaming ecosystems. When we talk about independent game developers, those are small businesses. So these same kids we're talking about, middle school, high schoolers, they could be business owners, making the next Knockout City or the next Fortnite.
I love it. Or the next app for clinical trials, dare we say. So yeah, I love this, but I'm with you. I just believe our streets contain the answer. Like I said, this is very helpful. I'm here to learn. I hope I shared something that was of value to you. The management.
I have more questions.
Yeah, go.
So for gems, we love to drop gems on Eat for Life podcast. So my question, advice to females out there, how do they navigate mentorship in a male-dominated area or industry?
Is gaming male dominated? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just meaning from a professional standpoint for young women that try to
it
get
is,
into
but that's not what he's talking about.
Yeah, it is. But, I'm not just for gaming, just from a female in a male-dominated industry. How do you navigate mentorship when that mentorship is probably coming from a male?
See what I meant about you were getting set up?
I think a couple of things. One, there are various stages of development that a woman goes through. But eventually, there's enough stuff inside of a woman where she knows who she is and who she is not. So until you have figured out who you are, don't ask for a mentor. Have at least 2 or 3 things. Don't have it all figured out. I'm not saying that. But have at least 2 or 3 things. Mentors are there to help you, yes. But have at least some idea. A mentor has to work with something, not just all raw data. Okay. But most Black women, by our culture, know who we are pretty doggone early because of the way we live, who we are and who we are not. And the mentor will help crystallize some of that. But because you are in atmospheres of difference, being grounded and being on a journey of self-awareness is going to be critical. A mentor will be able to smell that if you are not. And you can be played. Know who you are and who you are not.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you go asking somebody something, get that together. Secondly, keep a mindset of you don't need to be fixed. It's not about fixing you. You are going to be a continuous learner, always asking questions to grow yourself and improve by your definition, not someone else's. Success means different things to different people. So this is not about fixing you.
Yeah,
Thirdly, people get that confused. Know who you are, who you're not. You don't need to be fixed. Thirdly, everybody's got a situation. Air quotes. Some they hope they'll wind up on social media, on the news or whatever, on the street. So just know that you don't have to feel like an imposter for asking. The person you want to be a mentor and navigating to when you approach someone who you feel might have the stuff that helps you develop your it factor, and you've come with who you are, they will be able to read that. But no, they got a situation too. So don't let that stop you. The last rung of the 4 frames I usually put around this is, do you want power or not? I hear a lot about people saying, use your power, walk in your face. You don't stop it. A tweet is not power. A post on Twitch, TikTok, or anything else is not power. Power has influence to change something, usually for the betterment of someone else. And that's what puts you on the grid. So if a mentor senses that you are after something larger than yourself, after something that will better you, and that's a worthy investment. Know who you are, who you're not. You don't need to be fixed. Everybody got a situation. And get accustomed to the flow of power so you can get on the grid.
Like 5 gems in one.
Like she just answered.
Gemception.
Like she just
answered. You need a bag to collect these. Like 5 and 1.
Yeah, you can't.
And my last question is, because you started out in the broadcast and media world, you hear the sentiment that media is responsible for all the negative imagery when it comes to Black culture. Are you offended by that because you were in that world?
No. I believe there's a shared accountability in that. I believe be it Real Housewives to social media, which we have given them for free with our thumbs, to the rise and fall of MTV, to this reckoning that's going on now to kind of reconcile all of that. Not everybody watches CNN. So what are we going to do to control our narrative? I think everybody does have responsibility. I think the media has become something else. I was groomed by people who were journalists. We don't have that right now. They live on probably NPR, maybe, but journalism is gone. So as a discipline.
Tabloids now.
Yeah, it's a turn up now, right? It's about the numbers again, viewership, what's going to drive it. So I'm not offended by it as much as I understand it from a system structure point of view. I was with one entity. What was the name of that show that Netflix did about the president or something? I can't remember what it was, and that the lead actor got in trouble, so the show went down. Anyway,
House of Cards.
Oh yeah, House of Cards.
Okay. The leaders of this one didn't even know that was streaming versus not in broadcast. Sometimes we're just not aware. We don't even know what field we playing on. Okay. So, you really? You'd be surprised how many times I say, "Oh yeah, I saw you in Singapore." No, that was trend. What? That's your brand over there. Do you realize how much money they're making off of you? No.
It's real. It's real.
Sebastian, can we get a question from the community before we get close to closing this out?
Yeah. Let me see. There are a couple questions.
Okay.
Well, Jermaine asked the question, but then he said she answered it.
Okay.
Hey, Jermaine.
Yeah. So, you know.
You cover all the bases.
And you're on fire today because Jermaine's a pretty smart guy. He's a crypto guy too.
Oh, okay.
Another connection.
For my husband, I'm getting a passing grade, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to make you guys connect. You guys have to connect. Yeah, that'd be great. I wonder. Someone's asking me about the FGC, but I told him I'll answer him offline. We'll have like an FGC specific stream. I know I touch a lot of nerves when I talk about the Black gamers and the fighting game community because there's a lot of digital redlining happening there, and so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like I said, you couldn't do it by race, but you could definitely do it by console versus PC. And
That's
the
right.
difference between console and PC is that the minority households are not going to keep up with the PC games because after a mama buys her boy a PC, it's supposed to last for a couple of years, right? But the way the games are set up, from the publishers releasing the games to the peripheral companies building the actual stuff inside the computer, everything has about a 2-year lifespan. And so if you pay $1,000 for a really good PC, in like 2 years, you might not have to buy a new one, but it needs upgrades.
Yes.
And so there's an economic difference right there because these parts aren't cheap. You see what I'm saying? But if the games that are played on it are played professionally on PC, that already boxes out all the console players. But the only games that don't do that.
That's right. I got.
The only games that don't do that are the fighting games, where you find 90% of Black players.
Oh, so there it is.
And so
there it is.
And so Hayes, I want to say, he's already typing in. He says a good gaming PC costs at least $1,200, but a console only costs $500. Thank you. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And that's where that digital redlining is happening. And that's where we're
It's changing
at, right?
now, but it's changing slowly, and a lot of people aren't educated on it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people aren't educated on it, so that's something that, you know, that's different than, you know, like how maybe a traditional sport is, or a traditional, it's just kind of like that specific genre, because it lives on consoles, is the way it is because of that. So opening the door.
Yeah.
I ran into that early because, you know, look, Deion Sanders been hollering about coaching at Jackson State. What is this crap we playing with? You know, Deion came from the NFL and he's at a HBCU coaching, and he knows what Clemson has in their equipment room.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
He said, "Oh, now I see why I'm here. I'm going to use my platform to get at this inequity." So here comes Eddie George to TSU. Oh no, we can't have this, right? And here comes Master P. His son's gonna play. So there's some breaking.
That's how it's supposed to be done. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Right.
Like that.
So,
those are the strategic things.
There we go. But there is a conversation. There's a room, much like what Ken Chenault does. They call that the Boca Room, where those black CEOs get. Let me just let you. Who do you think sent Dick Parsons to the Clippers when the Clippers were dealing with that owner who was racist? There was a room. Now there's a room about this. Two black CEOs said, "Oh no, we got to fix this because not everybody can go to school, and I know my journey, and I know what I had to go through." There's a room. So this thing about PCs, I see what Mizzou got in terms of their land center.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I don't even know why they're saying HBCU esports. How many land centers are in 101 schools? Okay, so let's just stop all the noise and recognize this $1,200 cost. $1,200 every 2 years upgrades. That's real stuff, and that translates to the world of work.
Right. Exactly. And the players who play what? In this world, the players who play what? You think there's not a bunch of black kids that ain't nasty at Fortnite? Was you crazy?
That translates. So I feel that. I feel the weight of that question. I really do.
Yeah. Someone said, what the F was I thinking about not asking about the FGC? Don't do that no more. So I should have brought that question up earlier. That's a lesson I learned right there.
We apologize.
Very passionate. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, other than that, I think the thing is, there's probably not a lot of questions because we really got a lesson in. You know, I would like to say like an executive level understanding of how to read a situation and capitalize on it. That's what I feel empowered with right now. Like I'm
happy to hear that.
You gave me examples of what you do. You gave me examples of how not to do it. Like definitely like the ways to get a mentor. I have mentors, and I'm big on, you know, pushing people to get mentors. But even some of the things you said are even like, you know, kind of making me revisit that. Like, yeah, that's a great piece of advice. So, and I imagine our audience probably feels the same way. There was just so many gems. So thank you for coming.
I want to give you 6 reasons why. Well, this is studying, so forgive me if it sounds clinician-like. Most minority professionals fail. And it feeds into those 4 frames I gave you. 1, because of lack of courage. It takes courage to walk in a place where and know, particularly if you don't even know that those rooms even exist.
Yeah.
Right. Who knows what the room looks like where Epic Games is creating a metaverse? Who knows what that room smells like? Who knows what's this boy Mike Figgy, who I did call, by the way, when they did that mixed reality opening for League of Legends. He didn't know me from a can of paint. Asked me if I can. Okay. You're going to talk to this sister today. And no, I'm not a gamer, but you did the largest mixed reality, whatever in the world. I want to know. That's what the Chinese do. Takes courage. Political 10 ear. You got to tune up. What are the politics around the situation you're trying to break through?
That's a gem.
Inaccurate self-assessment. Are you really seeing yourself? Do you look in the mirror? Is somebody helping you straighten your crown, ladies? Somebody help Rihanna straighten her crown to know, excuse me, you are wearing Louis Vuitton and you paying for it. They should be giving you
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Somebody got to this, Derek, about media. Stereotypes and preconceptions. Don't let that trip you up. Don't let that bother you. High anxiety around all of this. That's why we end up with high blood pressure and all this other stuff. This is the anxiety factor around trying to get at the courage. Knowing when to say when. If it ain't moving, drop it. Go to the next one. You know, did you ask 3 times or did you ask once? No, when to say when. How much is enough?
This a whole this a webinar, y'all. Is this the real?
She's just giving them away for free. I hope y'all are taking
No,
them. That's the thing.
But Monica, I really appreciate because coming, being a journalist for 10 years and then seeing how you took so many different pathways that you learned and just merged them together, and you figuring out who you were. Like that's like everything you was just saying is like you figured out who you actually was and how you can put everything together and how you can structure and strategize everything to just like Tetris, just putting the pieces in the right place.
I'm still figuring out, honey. I never stop.
Yeah. Yeah, just like Tetris, it just keeps going and going until until you knock that one block out, but another column comes in. So but yeah, I learned so much from you. I'm going to continue to keep learning from you, period.
We can learn from each other. We can learn from each other. There's something here, y'all. There's something here.
Yeah, just like how you mentioned with the strategies, just asking us those questions alone. And just like we was mentioning with Deion Sanders and Master P, is just forming Voltron. I think a lot of times we don't think about forming a Voltron. We just want to be separate pieces. So yeah, we got to form that Voltron. I'm just saying.
She'll hit you with those.
Just saying.
Love it.
Well, listen, we've never had this many thank yous, so I want to be the 23rd person to say thank you.
Oh,
we've never gotten this many thank yous, so people are saying so great, so grateful. This is incredible, great opportunity, and these are some pretty strong people from their industries and some esports people. So we thank you because you came through and gave us that real experience from real times. I mean, it's crazy that just the experience, like even you what you come from, with your your pops and Malcolm, and just kind of like the whole thing. That's like it's next level stuff, and I appreciate you.
I have to thank one more person, and that's Danny Martin.
Oh,
shout out to Danny Martin.
Shout out to Danny.
Shout out to Danny.
That boy took more calls from me when I would say, Danny, I don't understand this. What is all of this?
That's great. That's great. Yeah, he's definitely leading the way in the esports space. So I'm glad to hear he's helping work with you too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So thank you for having me. Let's stay connected, please. I want to be of service.
Already adopted you, so
please.
Rep.
Wonderful.
Rep.
Yay.
I mean, I've been adopted you as soon as we had our little connection or LinkedIn, but I was
well, the good doctor, Afua Ampadu says you're welcome to at TSU. I think she's Tennessee State. Is that right, Marcus?
Tennessee State.
Tennessee State.
Who was that? Who was that?
The beautiful Dr. Afua Ampadu. She is a director of graduate and professional development at TSU.
I would love to connect with her. Please share my information. Please. Hit me up on LinkedIn, please. Yeah. Let's holla.
Holla. See what we're doing. Saying, man. We've been doing this for y'all so long. I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you for coming through. We appreciate you. Lots of gems for your head top today. Guys, before we go, Marcus, Red, Derek, Monica, what do you guys got coming up like this week? People can get in with, they can get in tune with, they can move and groove with you. We got a lot of connections. Say, I'm feeling the family love. Make sure you tell them. Red, you just got off a stream before you got here, so you've been streaming that purple.
Wow.
Oh yeah. E3 is right around the corner. So gonna,
Okay.
yeah, E3 is a couple of days from now. So got some really cool things that I got to experience pre E3 that I can't wait to share and cover. And then of course just getting more developers roundabout on hidden code and uncovering esports with women. But yeah, E3. So the whole week of E3, I'm gonna be covering all the newness that's coming out.
Awesome.
So that's what I got going on.
All right, now, yeah, E3 is around the way.
Cool.
You know, I'm like an E3. You know, I'm like the Mike Jordan of E3. I've been to 6 of them things. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I got more on you, bro.
Oh,
This
you
would
gonna do me
this
like
is my
that?
10th one.
It's your
It's
10th
my
one?
10th.
There you go. You gotta level
10.
up, chosen. You
I'm a
gotta
little
level up.
I'm Bill Russell? What's going on? I'm
Never-
like, what's happening?
These four fingers never felt so long.
That's
I
funny.
gotta catch up. Yeah. How about you, Marcus? What do you got going on?
Wednesday, Derek and I are meeting with the state representative for Florida for the district here, the one who wrote that letter of recommendation. We talked about, same thing we've been talking about here, trying to combine education with entertainment, making
Yes.
sports accessible, financial inclusion, economic empowerment. That's the conversation on Wednesday.
What
And then
outcome do you want? What outcome do you want from that meeting?
A check
That's what I'm talking about. To do what?
to build some esports and education. I mean, we've already proven we could do that. We did that in February for the Super Bowl. Derek and I and the team here in Tampa Bay have been doing this for years. This is not new to us. We just need the support to make it happen.
Okay.
Need the infrastructures. Need some buildings going on, okay?
You heard that. Reading the cryptic codes. You know what I'm talking about? How about you, D? What do you got going on?
So this week, the Museum of Science and Industry, we started up a gaming expo and exhibit. That'll be running for like 2 months. So that kicked off
What city?
Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
So it's laced with old consoles, the history of Pong. It's a great experience to come out. So the Museum of Science and Industry, they recognize the value of video games and they've been a great partner. So
Awesome.
That's what's up. I need to see the pictures. Y'all have to fly me out. I'm trying to get flued out.
We trying to
Tampa.
as soon as you stop
right.
being scary, you come outside, come back outside,
Wow. All I need is a ticket. Look,
Okay.
JetBlue or Delta. JetBlue or Delta. And I'm just trying to get flued out, so I could experience Tampa, which I'll do.
No Spirit? You're not gonna fly on Spirit?
Marcus.
No. The only spirit I need is
that part.
no.
Don't mind him.
The
He just got his room green like that.
spirit of Christ. That's so. The spirit don't even got a kiosk. No. Nope. No spirit
You
in
gotta
front
pay
of
to breathe
there.
air on Spirit.
Well, they
No,
don't
it's
even have-
either JetBlue or Delta.
they
All
don't-
right,
they don't even
that's
have
that's
no
all.
employees at the airport. They're there with you in spirit. You feel me?
No, I got my spirit. I ain't trying to share it with another one.
Oh.
Just let that one stay there.
Well,
Yes, the
yeah,
shade.
Derek, that is dope. That is dope. That is dope. That's really dope. Yeah, I want to see some of the content too. That's exciting. Like that's what
Yeah, I
I'm
would
talking
love to
about.
see that.
Bridging that gap, bro. Like it just being that middle point because you have the expertise and that's something that would be so cool if I was like that age and I could go to the museum and like learn the history and game and like that's phenomenal, incredible. It's really really dope. I guess for me, I have my course that I've been working so long on to get finished. Like it's been a long grind. It took me like 4 or 5 months to finish my digital ads and marketing course, and it's called Eat for Life.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to share it with everybody. It's long. It's like 7 hours, 8 hours worth of content.
What platform you putting it on?
It's gonna be on a platform called Kajabi, which is like similar to Teachable or Thinkific, and those are learning platforms. They you can take courses on them. So it's gonna be on there, and it's gonna have like a lot of different topics in sales, marketing, digital ads, which is great because it kind of goes into what Monica said and those two brothers that are CEOs. That's kind of the philosophy I came under. Like I came up off the Xbox, right? Like I'm not like I dropped out of college the 3 days after orientation. So for me, it's like I literally went through the experiences of life and learned through all the E3s. So I treat them like championships, how to navigate this industry and how to find myself during it. And in these 4 years coming up on being a business owner, and the 10 plus and being in the administrative side of esports, and then 15 plus of being a professional player, I've learned how to do sales incredibly well. Like I'm proficient. I've done over $200,000 in sales, and then I learned in 2018 how to do digital advertising. So running Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and I'll tell you, once you know in 2021, once you know how to run an ad, like if you know what you're talking about, the doors open up at every place you can walk into, because every place needs customers. There's no question about it. There's no industry that people don't need customers.
Mm-hmm.
There's no industry that exists. So if you can do that by doing lead generation through Facebook or YouTube, I mean, my life has changed since I've learned that skill. It took me about 90 days to learn it. It took me about another 6 months to fail at a couple budgets and, figuring it out. But once I hit my first 5-figure ad, my life changed. The moments in my life changed. Everything, because I recognize now I have a skill that, that's not just me. Like, I'm really good at video games. I know how to sell stuff. Trying to sell it, it really empowered me to have something that I know everybody wants. In today's world, everybody wants it. So it just empowered me to wake up every day excited about the next opportunity. So this course is a manifestation of that, right? Like, I really took the time to shoot it, think about the things that people need to learn, and, teach at a level that we understand. Because I feel like we learn a little different, right? Like, and I mean we as people who forewent maybe traditional college education. For when I made it with that in mind. Now, you can be college educated and get it. I want everybody to get the course. But I do feel like I made it in mind of, teaching someone who might not understand about a mentor, or learning how you learn. Those things are important, right? Like, if you don't know how you learn, then it's hard to learn.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
It's hard to learn if you don't know how you learn.
I would advise you to go get somebody who who teaches, who has a street rep for teaching, street cred for teaching, and just give you a little byline.
Yeah, sure.
Just to say, I'm with him on this.
Oh, yeah.
Just street cred.
Yeah, I need it. I could use it. I mean, I could always use it.
I'm sure you know somebody.
I got a lot, to be clear. Like, I got a lot.
Yes, you do.
But
just run with somebody. That's why I'm always, I learned over time that being nested in a university gives you street cred.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% always trying to look
for your own stuff.
Sure, 100%. Well, I'd love to share it with you. Definitely, like a professional.
Absolutely, happy to
have you take a look at it, give me a review. That goes to all of you on the podcast, obviously.
Absolutely.
And anybody interested out there, please hit me up. But I did spend a lot of time on it, and I just took this time. Thank you for listening, y'all, because it's about to be hot, because I worked on it hard, and I'm watching the playback. Yeah, I'm watching the playback, and I'm like, man, like, it's definitely time to help empower young Black people through, because I know my story, right, Red? Like, we've been through, speaking of E3 season, we've been through a lot of E3s. We've been through a lot of tournaments. We've been through a lot of plays. I mean, my gamer tag is chosen one, but it's not because I came through gaming. It's a different reason than that. Gaming, there's a lot of people like me. There's a lot of people like Red. They just never, what I see in my last 10 years, right, is like they never find those skills. Like, once I found digital advertising, I knew it was on. I was like, okay, boom. Like now I have an actual skill that can walk into any room and like, wow.
There you go.
Yeah, like things are happening. So now I want to give that to people. Like, hey, look, whatever you're doing, you spend $500 on whatever you spend it on. You give me $500, you do this, and you stick to it and do it. If at the end of a year you can't do it, I'll give you your money back, because that means that it didn't work. But I know what you can do. If you use the creativity we have is, not just Black folks, but people who are not in the new system of the world, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, like, we have more value than ever. Like, we have more value than ever. So if you can understand how to leverage them, and don't think of them as like, just because you can stream. Just because, if you can, that's great. Everybody wants to be the next Ninja, the Pokemans and all that. That's great. But what if you knew how to help a local company reach 400,000 people because you can run ads during the popular streamers' Twitch? Because you know who the popular streamers are. You know that.
That's big.
You know that. You know who
That's
they
big.
are. You understand what times they stream at. You know their times. These companies don't know that.
That's big.
As soon as you tell them,
that's a question.
Guess who can't tell you that?
Who?
Gucci Mane.
Oh no, I know that. Oh, I know that. Yeah. I know that. I'm not looking for that from Gucci. No. I'm not looking for that.
You just lit up like a Christmas tree. Ain't have nothing to do with him.
Yeah. I'm not looking for that. And again, I didn't name 3. I got more than just Gucci, by the way. Like I don't want to do like that was my thing. I got more.
I'm just checking.
Yeah.
I'm just checking.
Yeah. I got more than Gucci. That's more of a personal journey thing. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just checking.
To be clear, and y'all extracting a little bit more out of me, like I'm from like super perverse conditions. So watching somebody else make something of themselves from a super perverse condition, learning from their journey is that's my Gucci Mane specific. When it comes to this gaming, I take my own opinion a lot of times. And my cohorts here, of course, I always listen to them because I've been living it, right? 50% of my life has been dedicated to this.
Okay.
So I don't know who else has that stat, but if you want to bring them to the table, you could check because my whole thing is on YouTube from the first time. So 50% of my life has been dedicated to this. So I like to bet on myself a lot of times. And anyway, this course comes from a gamer, but it's sharpened in the boardroom. And I'm excited to share it with all y'all here. In the spirit of Eat for Life, you guys like this podcast. You just wax poetic about how much gems that we had the lovely Monica P come on and drop for you. So this course is made in the spirit of that. It's called Eat for Life. Eat for Life is the Monica, the brand of what we're trying to do. We want you to forever be able to gain and grow. So we want to empower.
I have one more person to thank. There's so many people to thank, but I also got to thank from this community, Christopher Turner.
Oh yeah, Chris, that's the bro right there.
Yeah, he's in there. He's in the building now.
Gotta holler at him. Gotta holler.
Yes.
He's a real one.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, we got the love going all through tonight.
Chris doing some big things, but actually putting action towards helping our people. So big shout out to Chris.
Absolutely. No.
Chris, I'm trying to get flued out to Louisiana. You already know.
Can you tell people about Game Meets Game real quick? And we didn't even get a chance to talk about it.
Oh, sure. So because I'm in this transformation space, or transformer. I had to use our vernacular. Game recognizes the game. Game knows game.
That's right.
But when Derek can take gaming to a museum, and Sebastian can take what he knows about coming from a grit situation to Madison Avenue, that's a game meeting game.
Yeah, we got a lot of that going on here. I'm glad you know.
And so I just believe that it speaks to both worlds needing to understand the need to meet each other. So we're creating a platform under the rubric of innovation. Game Meets Game is for the gaming community stuff to meet industry and create Tesla moments.
It's awesome. If you don't mind, I'll share that link in the chat.
Absolutely.
So anybody who's watching.
Absolutely. And then we have another one called Culture Pulse. And that's specifically for the sisters, because it came to my heart that I was seeing us kind of disappear in the world of work because of mental health. And now you see Taraji and others creating platforms. Not that it's not for you brothers as well, but I guess it's my lived experience, but they don't even take our pulse. I learned during the pandemic that in life sciences and health systems, we don't live. We aren't in the supply chain. And so I went and got another smart person a sister who's done 14 clinical trials. Her phone hadn't been ringing. Speaks 3 languages, worked across the globe, but she knows the answers to that supply chain. So we created a platform called the Culture Pulse, and we have this week some serious meetings with those 2 industries to get us a solution.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm gonna check it out. Marcus just put the link over here, and
absolutely. It launched with Diageo's $10 million gift to 25 campuses, and there's more to come in the fall with other brands.
Incredible.
Keep us posted.
Please.
You got our full support.
Absolutely.
Please, yeah,
thank you. Would love to have you all engaged with it.
Of course.
For sure.
Well, thank you for coming on. We're
Absolutely.
gonna get out of here. We gave you guys so much extra content, but how could we shorten a meeting?
I'm
like
sorry,
this?
we are way over.
How
time.
could we shorten a meeting like this, right? So, thank you for giving us
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you for dropping gems, and we look forward to you guys coming back, getting more gems in the future. We definitely got a repeat guest here. We want to keep up with everything
Thank
you've
you.
been working at Game Meets Game, and everything you've been doing, and it's just an honor to have you. So thanks a lot. You guys catch us next
Yes, thank
Sunday.
you.
You know the deal.
Absolutely.
Esports, entrepreneurship, education, gems on top of gems on top of gems. Derek is working on these gem shirts. They look fire from what I've
Hold on,
seen.
before we leave, are we playing? We doing the E for Life versus Chumps thing? Like, what we do?
We worked all the way
Versus
till
Chumps.
now. Yeah, I mean, I'm down to play.
That is
Can we do it like an hour? I'm down to play. I'm nice.
Yeah.
I'm not. This is the seat with me. Here's what I bring to the table for everybody watching the show. I'm nice. Okay? And I'm not talking about courteous. I'm nice.
Let's get it. Let's get
I
it.
added y'all. Nobody added me back except for Marcus. What we doing?
I thought you was already on
I
my
added you.
Yeah, I thought you was on
added
our
you.
list. Let's get on there, man. Come on, an hour. Let's
Monica,
go.
if you want some
We streaming it? Like, oh, what we doing?
What is it?
Content is key.
Same Twitch.
So
Come
the
through.
game Knockout City, it's supposed to be all of us playing, but against, I guess, other people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So, and Derek is disrespectful, so he said chumps. So they chumps on us. Like,
Hard. So we gotta
E for
be
Life
nice now.
versus.
We
It's
got.
like-
We don't have a question. We can't be out here getting beat up after Derek. Derek
We
brought it
cannot
up.
get beat up after that
He brought it up.
disrespectful
Yeah, he brought it up.
poster.
But that's all
So,
right. That's all right. Cause Marcus.
so yeah, Monica, that's the.
Marcus and I have been getting some games in together. We doing some work, and I seen.
Isn't
you-
somebody
I seen
winning
your
your
highlights on
book?
Twitter,
What's
Red, so I
going
see
on
you
with?
cooking. We're gonna make this a thing.
Yeah.
And Monica, you know what? I'm
what?
dedicating all my kills to you tonight. My knockouts.
Oh.
All my knockouts.
Knockouts, all knockouts.
All
Knockouts.
Everybody.
Knockouts.
Thanks to you.
This
Thanks
whole
to you. I'm
series we
charged
dedicated
up.
to you.
I came on a little midday feeling today. Thanks to you,
Yeah.
I'm charged up.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? I don't need
Be
to be
with-
fixed.
You do not.
There you go. Now, y'all get. Go ahead, listen to this PlayStation. You hear that PlayStation turn on? It's on. So we're gonna sign on to that. Thank you guys for coming through the podcast, and we'll see you next week. So much support. Shout out to everybody. Like, huge crowd tonight.
Yes, thank you.
I suspect that our guest helped us with that, but I love that. You guys are building week by week. It's starting to show up in the numbers. So thank you for that. We appreciate you.
Thank
'cause
you.
It's really starting to show up now, and it's really, really excited. Really, really exciting. So keep y'all updated with what's coming next week, and we'll holler back at you.
Be good, y'all.
Keep
God bless.
grinding, and it's always time to eat.
Bless.